alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, we cannot thank you enough. My name is Norman Muhoozi. I want to thank you for everything you've been doing for this country, but most importantly, your efforts to ensure that we live in a decent country and also fighting both COVID and Ebola and so many other issues and problems that you might have faced. But also, I wish to extend our apologies for beginning slightly late. This means we'll be compensated as we move along. Don't mind that. We continue to thank you for your patience. We are streaming live on our Facebook page, that's The Alternative Uganda, and also Digitalk TV. Later on, the show will be on our YouTube channel, The Alternative Uganda, as well. As it has been the norm, every Wednesday at 11, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba to dig deeper into the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and simplify it for the local citizens to understand every single word therein. We must again apologize that last week we couldn't make it because he had lots of ups and downs here and there, and he will substantiate the reason for which he didn't appear, because I'm sure that's also one of our topical discussions, why he didn't appear last week. He was running, he had running battles with some people he deemed corrupt in police and local government. Justice Kanyeihamba, say hello to our viewers and then we shall begin.
Hello viewers, nice to see you, and I welcome you back from where you are hiding. Good morning, Norman.
Good morning, sir, once again. We want to begin straight away with your petition, and that will now drop us into other topical discussion. What happened with your petition in the Constitutional Court?
As a former judge, Minister of Justice and Attorney General, and the judge of the African Court on Human Rights, I have told everybody very safely that we have won our petition which we filed in the Constitutional Court of Uganda, challenging the threat to the right to bail. We started with being 6 petitioners. 5 were students. One by one they pulled out. One who was a lawyer committed some offenses and he no longer answered us. Another one was bought by the respondents, we think, giving a lot of money to sabotage our petition. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I go for a checkup at the Nakasero Hospital. So the compromise registrar of the Constitutional Court deliberately put the hearing on the day she knew
That you didn't be
I
available.
was going to hospital, and bribed one of the students, Solomon, Nabuyand, I think he's called, to remove my written submissions and replace them with his,
Submissions.
and then pretended the lady told her, on that day you pretend to be land council. He's a student. So Solomon, I don't know how much they paid him, fell for the trap, removed my,
Written submissions. that
yes,
you
and
submitted
put
earlier.
his there, and said he will be representing the petitioners as land council.
Holding out as your lawyer? Or was he holding out as your
You
advocate?
can't be counsel unless you're a lawyer, qualified, and have gone to the Law Development Center. But this is a student at the Makerere. Now, the idea was, I will not be there. So he would say, I am representing the petitioners. Then the court said, are you counsel or what? He would say, no, I'm a student. Then they said, this petition is dismissed because these people are fraudulent. They are even led by a student who pretends to be counsel. So the idea was the case would be dismissed. So that is stage one. Stage two, what they didn't know. I have friends in the court. Then the Deputy Chief Justice, Richard, is a very principled, no-nonsense man. So he had me previously say, I think this our petition is being compromised.
Mismanaged.
He reshuffled the panel. Remember, one of the judges had rather had adjourned our case indefinitely because people told her that I was sick, very dangerous sick, and I would die anytime. So the idea was, when I die, then the court can say, this case has been taken by a bench, the principal petitioner Kanyeihamba has passed on, and therefore the case has been by taken event. That's one again, God himself, not me. God said, no, you will not die until the end of this case. So he defied that judge. A lady judge in the Supreme Court, rather in the Court of Appeal.
Constitutional court.
There are other ladies, including one whom I told, who are very honest, principled, and are professional. I don't want to mention them there because they haven't given us judgment
yet.
So the Deputy Chief Justice reshuffled the bench and put there people who are professional. I have never had any problem with them. They have never named by anybody they are corrupt. So these are the ones we want. And I am hoping, against hope, that when Alfonso Dorowini retires, I think he's reaching his retiring age. One of the judges to fill that field should come from the Supreme Court, from the Court of Appeal, because the Court of Appeal, they are aging now, so they are also soon to retire. Chisese, who's young, my view is that there should not be case between him and the Chief Justice.
You mean the conflict between the two justices, between
yes, and the Chisache. Chisache has a bad record even in the Supreme Court. I will not go into it. So, in my opinion, this case should not take place. She should be retired in the public interest.
Apparently, both were advised to have their issues managed out of court. Do you think that is
To do what?
to manage their conflict out of court? Do you think
No,
it's, do
no,
you think
no,
that's a wise,
no,
advice?
that would be wrong. Because settling out of court means he stays Chief Justice.
And the
other one
Justice of Supreme
stays.
Court as well.
Yeah. So that's the decision. Uganda should not accept it. If this lady cannot be persuaded to retire in the public interest, the case should be heard publicly so we know who did what.
But Justice Kanyeihamba, as a senior counsel, I know you know and you have practiced ADR, alternative dispute resolution. Don't you think there should be room for alternative dispute resolution?
That has been corrupted.
How?
The system has been corrupted Saturday. My case is still there.
That ADR...
It has been there for 7 years. They have never resolved it. I talk from experience.
So in your view, alternative dispute resolution has been turned into an organ for getting bribes. My case, they were bribed. The person who was, I reported the lawyers who sabotaged it to Justice Kasule. He was the chairman of that thing. It has never been solved. Whether Kasule feared, because I always knew him as corrupt. So that is not working. So what do you advise that too? And also the
I advise that Chief Justice should do his duty and report Justice Chisake as indisciplined. Some of us can give evidence to that, and the Chisake should be retired in the public interest.
Isn't that working retrospectively? Because if someone raises issues towards you and then you want to suppress them with your powers,
no, I am not saying they should so forget.
Because she's the one who first raised
the illegalities which the Chief Justice did. So when she has gone, he has exercised his powers as the Chief Justice of Uganda, not depending on 6 lawyers to defend him, as if he's a criminal. We can't Chief Justice of Uganda declare the criminal. We have had an Attorney General declared a criminal, and he resigned. So we should not confuse the offenses, if any, which the Chief Justice has committed, by letting them fight with Justice Chisake. Chisake has committed enough problems for the Chief Justice to have called the Electoral Commission to discipline her. Now that he didn't, he's facing the music. Now for me, I'm saying, let not our Chief Justice face that music. Let he give us the offenses Chisake has committed, and then the Judicial Service Commission, which is the governing body
of the entire judicial,
should recommend that Justice Chisake, we love you. You are a doctor, but please, you are not fit to be a judge. Retire in the public interest. That is the view of Kanyeihamba.
I will take you back to your traditional
Thank you.
To your traditional saying.
Thank you.
Where you say, no sooner had my sheep gotten lost than your dog's waist had feathers.
Yes.
So why would you wait for Justice Chisake to raise an alarm towards that?
But I have raised it many times.
And then you want to punish her. I mean,
I am glad you have raised that issue. She sues me for the leak of information.
Yes.
Chief Justice Kasule did.
Yes.
I reported her to the Chief Justice and to the Judicial Service Commission. I said she is accusing me instead of accusing Katulebe who leaked the information. And it was on the media. Katulebe said, my office leaks like a sieve.
But then this is the same.
So they did nothing. Then I brought this matter to the new Chief Justice. He did nothing about it. Unfortunately, I am in a wheelchair. Are you saying I should have gone there and declared myself a judge and the judge in these cases?
Definitely no. Now the question becomes, in your view as a senior, first of all, you were at the highest rank in the judicial.
Yes, I was
sector.
I was a citizen. Whether I was a judge of the Supreme Court,
Attorney General, and the Minister for Justice and the Constitutional
and also Minister, and also senior presidential
advisor,
ever on
human rights,
human and international affairs.
Great. One asks, doesn't that portray incompetence in the Judicial Service Commission, that they cannot manage such administrative issues without the public knowing how much leakage is?
I entirely agree with you. Who is this? What is the chairman of the electoral?
Apparently, I'm not in position to.
You are not. So he's incompetent, and you see decisions where he should recommend
even the appointments themselves. Yes,
the president is appointing directly. And this man, whether he eats bread or chapati, I don't know, he's just enjoying that. He's doing nothing. The Electoral Commission is doing, the Judicial Service Commission is doing nothing. And the work they should be doing, President Museveni is doing it for them, and they are not complaining.
So doesn't that mean that, first of all, we need an overhaul, reshuffle?
Absolutely. How can you appoint chairman of the Judicial Service Commission who is from the High Court and is supposed to interview
the Supreme Court and
the Court of Appeal? It's absurd. That man shouldn't be there.
Does that mean that's the reason for which they have to subdue and bend law to the president's and bow law to the president's orders? Because if you appoint someone who is at a level of a high court judge,
yes,
to more or less supervise the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal, most likely they would rather pay their allegiance to the appointing authority than those they are supposed to.
I entirely agree with you. Right. You are absolutely right. So we don't have, I want to emphasize, we don't have a Judicial Service Commission.
No, just correct it. Maybe you say we don't have a competent and functional, because it is there by word and office. It is there. So we don't have competent.
Tell me. If you have a friend who falls down and dies, do you have a friend?
You have half a friend. You have to go back to your
so I am petition. Right. Yes. No.
Before you run to your petition, I want to ask you, save for the powers vested into the Judicial Service Commission, is there any other administrative organ that can manage conflicts amongst you as justices?
No, first of all, the responsibility should be of the of the Judicial Service Commission. If it fails, if I was the president, I would appoint other people, because there is no alternative except the Judicial Service Commission. Uganda entrusted it to sort of appoint and promote
or even demote
judges, or demote, or remove. In fact, well, we have an experiment here. The late Oteng was a judge of the High Court. And the accusation against him went to the Judicial Service Commission. And the Judicial Service Commission recommended the president that he should be sacked. He was sacked. That's what we should be doing now.
Then the Judicial Service Commission was competent.
Of course it was competent. Do you know, when I was the Minister of Justice, do you know who was the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission?
No.
That's the Chief Justice himself. Samuel Wambuzi. And when he spoke, all the other judges listened. But you appoint a junior man, whoever it is now, chairman of the Judicial Service Committee, because he is a cadre of the NRM. Who listens to him? Who would obey him? That's why even the president has ignored him. He nominates and appoints judges himself, contrary to the Constitution.
If I may ask on behalf of our viewers, Justice, in the event that there are conflicts within, say, Supreme Court, before one runs to the Judicial Service Commission, is there any administrative organ within?
Oh yes, very much so. And when I was there, and Wambuzi was there, Sekoko was there, Mulenga was there, and Odell was there. You never had any judge going to court. You never had in newspapers that there is a conflict between Wambuzi and another judge, because we have what we call peer.
What is peer?
Peer counseling. Counseling. We don't call it, he has chosen. Oh, he has brought a petition. In the inside our temple of justice, the courts of appeal, what it manages us, or used to manage it, is counseling one judge another.
What about
if Chief Wambuzi had that? We never had this kind of thing because our judges were incorruptible. Were incorruptible. Things were on personalities. And one two things said was, in one case, Wambuzi asked me, or asked one of my colleagues, to negotiate with a judge who was a bit out of step. And the matter ended there. In another case, Odochi asks a serving judge, and it has been to equal jurisdiction or above, not below. Do you think I'm told the president, chairman of the Judicial Service is a judge? If I appear, he would be frightened of me.
Definitely.
Let alone say anything wrong about me.
Now, this is, maybe if you don't mind, you would perhaps remind the public how many female justices did you have on a panel? And then that will lead me into another question to ask on whether you people weren't bullies in courts, and perhaps today there may be some justices at Supreme Court may act as bullies towards Chisache. Just thinking.
Our ethical code of judges prohibits anybody to intimidate judges. I have corrected and agreed with Justice Chisake in one incident where I have both said she was right and wrong. She was wrong, definitely wrong, and against the ethics of the judiciary, not to circulate her judgment before she read it. That was a mistake, but she's ignorant. Having said that, the Chief Justice also was wrong to confiscate her dissenting judgment. But for him, he's excusable because she didn't circulate or show it to him. So he's right to have refused it. But if the only ground that he used was she's dissenting from the others, that is wrong. The judge, you are the boss of yourself in the courts, and you decide how your conscience tells you, not what the Chief Justice or the President tells you.
So if I may ask, so you find the conflict between these two as being Justice the Chief Justice blaming Justice Sache for having shared her dissenting,
For having failed.
failed
To
share
share.
with him before she circulated it to the
And
public.
the other judges are entitled to know. Not just the Chief Justice, but all the judges who were on the panel are entitled to know how all of them, 100%, have decided the case. Because then they can advise one who is absolutely wrong that, my lord, did you read this case? Did you read this action? Your judgment against it. So please withdraw it.
Today,
Without us knowing.
today is one of those few interviews where you have determined your colleagues as both right and wrong. You want to behave like your friend Hakana Rugunda, who said everyone is wrong and everyone is right. Now, who is more wrong between these two, the Chief Justice and Sache?
When the government does mistakes and the people criticize, the leader of that government is more guilty. And our leader is President Museveni. So you have ministers making mistakes, the Attorney General making mistakes, but we blame Museveni. So by the same logic, the Chief Justice is to blame for all this mess. He should have taken action. You can't come, she dissents. The first time she dissented without giving you her copy,
yeah.
that's when you should have complained.
So
it is like actually morally,
So this symptom
is
has been-
superior to the Chief Justice. Because at least for her, when she thought her rights were denied,
suffocated, yeah.
she has complained. The Chief Justice just kept quiet. I am the Chief Justice. What have you done?
Okay, back to the dissent judgment. Did you do the same during the 2006 petition?
You see, this is where I blame
sharing it
media
with you.
who don't know, don't read. In the 2006 petition, of course, I heard that the Chiza Besija's petition should be allowed, and they will hold another election. I didn't say he had won the election,
yes.
which some people accuse me of. But one of the reasons is that the other judges were at fault, all of them. We don't have any valid judgment, presidential judgment in Uganda. Because even you can find out that those judgments were illegal. The power to judge is based on Article 104 of the Constitution. And it says that judges of the Supreme Court shall inquire. Not here. Inquire. You can even read it.
Come with the findings.
104. If they haven't been amended. And that, when they have inquired, they will give their findings.
Not a ruling.
You read it. 104.
104 of our Constitution.
And the
This
thing
is
you know.
challenging a presidential election. Subject to the provisions of this article, any aggrieved candidate may petition the Supreme Court for an order that the candidate declared by the Electoral Commission elected as president was not validly elected.
The word is valid.
Valid, yes.
Yes,
Validly
yes.
elected. A petition under clause 1 of this article shall be lodged in the Supreme Court registry within 10 days after the declaration of the election results. 3 here, this is Article 3. The Supreme Court shall inquire
Inquire, not here. So they're supposed to do some work.
The Supreme Court shall inquire into and determine the petition expeditiously and shall declare its findings not later than 30 days from the date of the petition, from when the petition was filed. So
where did they get the word here?
no,
and the judgment?
they are your colleagues.
Because the others said We had the petition, but the law
into.
says inquire. They said we give our judgment, but the constitution says findings.
So
and when
one
of the famous lawyers in Africa, certainly in Kenya, in East Africa, is Patrick Lumumba. He visited here to launch our book, The Constitutional Public Law and the Government. And he agreed with me that your Supreme Court
has always been
wrong, because they should have inquired into and gave findings, not hard, and they give judgments. Where do they get those words from? Now, our constitution, our law says, if the words used in a statute or in a constitution, and those words are clear and unambiguous, you give them their natural meaning. To inquire into
and to hear
and give findings are very clear words. So where do they substitute them? With hearing and the judgment.
So when you did issue a dissenting judgment, then
we were CD.
Yes.
The late Justice Sekoko and the late Odell.
Now, did you ever have such conflicts amongst yourselves for dissenting from the rest?
I have told you until this case of the Chief Justice here and Justice Sechade, I have never heard there was any conflict. It is a collegious, it is friendly, it is professional, it is legal, it is constitutional. We work on those, we used to work on those terms. So to think you are disagreeing with somebody, on what basis? It was before unheard in the Republic of
Now it is hard. Okay, our viewers, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba, and we're trying to dig deeper into what is considered to be some bit of conflict between the Chief Justice and definitely Justice Chisache. Now, we will use like a minute or so. How do you reach onto a conclusion that your petition, that you succeeded in your petition?
Thank you. Now, 6 citizens, including me, petitioned against the threat by the President and the NRM and the Attorney General to amend the rule, rather the law, to allow bail. Bail
constitutional right,
is founded on the principle that nobody is declared guilty unless proved so by a competent judge, judge or court of competent jurisdiction. That is in all countries except the communist countries.
Where one is proven guilty.
Unless your court has proved on credible evidence that you are guilty, you are presumed innocent. Now, the threat to the right to bail was intended to abolish that principle. It was intended to abolish the discretion of the court to grant bail. Now, President Museveni is very clever, and I thank him. When we were petitioning, he remembered that the case of, our people don't remember, the case of the Mamba invasion
at High Court.
Yes, where we went on strike. Judges don't go on strike, but we said we downed our trip, under
the leadership of Justice Ogola as principal judge that time.
Ogola was there. The late Chikonyogo was there. In fact, she was our leader in that
Demonstration.
downing of the tools, and she was happy with it, that we did it. And although she was outside, he was the Chief Justice. I wanted to tell you why Professor Oroka Singh's Kanyeihamba is a legal dictionary. I'm going to prove to you that he's right. Now, another professor who was the Prime Minister called me to his residence. He was who?
Which one?
You don't remember.
Which Prime Minister?
He was called Apple Simbambi.
But he was a lawyer.
He was a very
political
astute political scientist.
Yes.
He called me, said, George. He used to call me George. What do we do now?
During that demonstration?
Yes. What do we do now? I said, the government must apologize and release those
that had been granted
who
bail
had been granted bail
and abducted.
yes, and let the court be the supreme in this matter. So he called Ruhakana Rugunda. I think he was the Minister of Internal Affairs. And another person, Ogola, and Patricia, and we all agreed, yes, the government should apologize. Then, when he was Minister of Internal Affairs, when he went into Parliament and gave a statement, those corrupt ones refused his statement. And he said, you shall not apologize. So he didn't apologize. He was obeying his Parliament. So when we didn't, he didn't, Museveni had a return. So Museveni had what had happened. Museveni is wise. Before this one, he was brilliant. Then he called all the judges to State House in Nakasero. He called all of us, gave us a cup of tea and a soda, and said, this problem is not very big. You remember Kanyeihamba? He quoted me, Professor Kanyeihamba solved this problem long time ago. He said, don't you remember the case of Tinyefuza, the Attorney General, where he sued me that he no longer loves the army? Kanyeihamba refused his petition, and Kanyeihamba, who gave the lead judgment, I was not alone, I was with 6 others, who gave the lead judgment, said very clearly, demarcated the responsibility of the judiciary and of the executive of the Parliament. And I stand by his word. That is President Museveni praising me. You can ask him. Because people are afraid to ask him, they say, Kanyeihamba, you are wrong. But I say, ask President Museveni, they don't ask him.
He's unreachable. That's the challenge. That's one of the reasons for which people don't ask him. Maybe he's not.
Why do you say I'm suing him? Because I called about 10 times to see him privately. And I was not allowed. But at this time, I gave one copy. The defeat of President Museveni in the war against corruption. A small man stopped me at the State House in Nakasero that we can't allow this rubbish to reach the president. Then I sent it through another courier who I know has access to the president. He read it. Because do you know why I know he read it? He doesn't mention Kanyeihamba. But he talked about his retirement and succession. That was Kanyeihamba's advice.
That he had better retire.
In that book. But Ugandans are still... when that was done, NBS brought about 10 people to discuss it. And they discuss it because the president has read Kanyehamba's book.
Okay, we want to break for 1 minute, and as we come back, these are the topical discussions as we come back. One,
but I never finished that thing about how I won.
Yeah, we are coming back, and you begin with that on how you won, how technically you won,
and how they refused me to demonstrate the powers of the AOC ones.
And Museveni's son's presidential bid and ambitions.
That's the one I will talk about.
Okay, we're coming back in 1 minute. Not to go away. We are with Justice Kanyeihamba.
Do you know I was...
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Are you guys ready? Okay, let's serve Uganda. As promised, we deliver. We are redefining the social media narrative, asking tough questions and holding your leaders accountable. We are non-partisan and break down having a conversation with Uganda.
We are TheMightyDrive. We hold debates that give you viable solutions. We bring to you people that Ivora is wanting to listen to. We are gender sensitive and give space to the unheard voices. Not forgetting the quote of the day.
We are live on our social media platforms, The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter from Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Don't miss the debate behind the wheels and our studios.
I am Edgar Matthew Karuhanga.
Farida Vikobiri.
And Princess Luwe Denidian.
Expect in-depth analysis, credible, factual and authentic information. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
Real issues, real talk.
Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo every Saturday right from 6 to 7.
Naku zino twajirwa flat tummy. Tukyayambala ko kugoyo obutukwata.
Wajana ku body shaming. Speak up. Gendo ba confronting. Obagambe ekyo kyemukola si kirungi.
Teweerabira nti tuli wano ku the Alternative Digitalk. Mukwano gwange gwali topic kiri wandiyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
Ngati ze tata wange amanyira nkola n'obuvunanyizibwa nyina bungi. Era agezaako n'anyamba yambako yanda.
Naye kumukubira kumubuuzaako. Noga mama we bali kunzaala.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships?
Come and visit, call me. Simanyanga I miss you bichi. Especially in better yobudde sinungi.
Naye n'omuntu akwagalira mu season yaba takwagala ze nkubuulira.
Just be commenting at topic yona gyandiyagadde twogereko tujja kwa tujogera kwano ku the Alternative Digitalk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk.
Ms. Norman Muhoozi say we are still streaming live on our Facebook pages. That's the Alternative Uganda and also Digitalk TV. As a program with us every now and again, every Wednesday with Justice Kanyeihamba at 11 to dig deeper into our constitution. And
good morning, viewers.
And indeed, today we are with him. We are with him. Before we went for a break, there were pending concerns, and he had to tell us how he technically won his petition in the Constitutional Court against the president and all other forces that wanted to fight against the right to bail. How did you win, as you put it?
Now, thank you for that question. When we petitioned the civil respondents, the Attorney General, the President, and the NRM. Museveni is always wiser than you people think. When he saw that our petition is likely to succeed, and he never likes defeat, he withdrew.
How did he withdraw? Did he?
He put a public statement which is in all newspapers. I am no longer interested in pursuing the amendment of this right. I leave it to the judiciary. It is on record. And we had submitted that statement as in our evidence. But I even thanked President Museveni that he is more knowledgeable than his advisor, the Attorney General. So we only said we are going to continue with the petition for 3 reasons. These people have been wasting our time. We filed, it is now over a year. They continue bothering us, avoiding. So we are asking for aggravated damages for them to be paid. We are also asking for costs. We are also asking that this case be adjourned indefinitely in case the respondents or anyone else ever again threatens the right to bail. So those were the only issues. But when the Attorney General responded, I really laughed. He said the only 2, 3 issues he wants the court to decide besides ours is that Museveni is above the law. We cannot sue him. Number 2, that we don't have a right to sue the NRM or the Attorney General, meaning the Attorney General is above the law and the NRM is above the law.
And the President is above the law.
Yeah. So they were supposed to appear what we call scheduling meeting. They didn't turn up. The then land registrar, who was a Munyankole, I forget his name, very professional, adjourned the meeting for scheduling and ordered the representative of the Attorney General and the NRM to appear. Because Museveni had appeared himself, not himself, but his lawyer, had appeared in accordance with the rules. But the Attorney General, who is an expert on oil, with LLM from Dundee University in Scotland, doesn't know the procedures of Uganda laws. Maybe he knows Scottish law. So he never did anything. By the way, he has never appeared in our petition, ever, although we are suing him. He just concentrating on his oil matters. Now, so the registrar adjourned
to give
the
room
hearing
for the
of
other
the
to
petition,
come and
of the scheduling for a week. When we appeared that week, a man said, I am from the Attorney General chambers. He never said, I represent the Attorney General. He said, I am from the Attorney General chambers. Then he said, we said, you have not served the Kanyeihamba with your scheduling notes or the other respondents. Where are they? He said, I have them here. So he gave them to the registrar. So the registrar had held the meeting of scheduling. I was there, the other directors, rather the other petitioners were there, and the representative of the Attorney General was there. So he said, this case will be heard on the 8th of June. And the registrar serves us to that effect. So when they realized that the registrar was a professional, neutral and objective, overnight they swifted him and posted him in a remote area in Arua, northern Uganda. They brought another woman who was thoroughly corrupt.
What makes you think and say that the new registrar was corrupt?
I'm going to tell you. And I don't mention anything, and this I have proof of it. She had been disciplined because when she was on holiday, there was a case for Sudir of Emira Enterprises.
Mila
Yes.
Enterprise.
The Sudir's lawyer insisted, unless the papers are signed by her personally, they will not go forward. So they paid her to come from leave and sign the papers. And she signed them, so the case went forward. Why do you think anybody would do that? Evidence of corruption and the payment. But in our case, they can prove it. And the judges themselves can prove it. It seemed that whoever wanted to doctor our case to be dismissed is the one who brought her back there, although she was under discipline. So when I went to see her to have a date, I said, please avoid Tuesday and Thursday because
those are the days
I have
in hospital. Because those are the days that you are.
Yes. She deliberately put the case on a Tuesday, knowing I would not be there, I would be in hospital. Evidence of corruption. A petitioner tells you, I will not be available on that day, and that's where you fix the date for hearing. Now she didn't know that I have friends in the Court of Appeal / Constitutional Court. So they told me, your case is going to be dismissed because they have put it on Tuesday and the week that you are going to hospital. The doctors who have been wonderful to me, they shifted my appointment. I'm not seriously sick, it's only a checkup. Others think I am dangerously and gravely ill. Those who are cheating me. Normally, you have never seen a world like this one. So, on the Tuesday, I turn up. I turn up in court. I think that girl must have urinated in her pants to see me, the ghost there. Then, fortunately, the judges who had the case, I believed in him. They haven't given judgment, but I want to tell you whatever judgment they give, I believed in them, as principled. None has ever put in the newspaper or whispered that they are corrupt. They included the people whom I am not mentioning. So, I made my submissions in writing, and I said, because I am an elderly man, I can't speak for a long time, which was a lie, because I can speak for 24 hours.
So you lied it, what? Okay.
Yes, yes. And they said, we accept Kanyeihamba's submissions on behalf of the
rest of the
petitioners. Then they ordered the respondents, that is the Attorney General, the President, and NRM to serve us and the court within 5 days. They gave them 5 days. As I talk to you, it's now near a month, we have never heard from them. Now that is where technical knockout comes out. So, after giving me notice, and a notice to the registrar, by now we should have had judgment from the court. So, if a court orders you to serve documents within a particular day, of course you can say on the way, you fell down, or there was a car accident, or this, but you don't give any reason whatsoever
for not serving.
The president has never given a reason why he didn't give us his scheduling, rather his written submission. The Attorney General has never given us, or the court, as far as I know, of his submissions. And the NRM, represented by their own legal team, has never spoken or given us their submissions. So the technical knockout comes this way. When you have disobeyed the order of the court, and eventually you are in contempt of court. You are in contempt of court. And the other party gave their written submission. Not all. Written submission. It's very important, it is written submission. And the court has been reading your own submission only.
Did you serve them yourselves?
Of course. Court cannot hear you unless you prove you were served. Or you served. That's common sense. You shouldn't ask it.
No, because literally one would wonder. You see, our being here is not because we need to portray how much we... Because if we are to discuss one-on-one, we want to educate the public, so that the public is aware that you did serve them and they are either big-headed, for lack of another word, and they have not responded, a reason to which you say you had a technical what? A technical knockout towards the president.
I appreciate your word and your question. Many Ugandans ask that. But if you told me you are going to ease yourself in the toilet, and you know I told you, and there was Mr. X who is here, and I said, you told me you were going to the toilet. Would he ask me, did you tell the other person? It's just the same thing. But let's continue, please.
Yes, so they didn't
continue.
reply.
I served them. Because if I hadn't served them, there is no way the court could have had the case. That's the same thing as I'm going to the toilet, then I say, have you gone to the toilet? So, having said that, I'm sorry about that rude language. Then we don't have to write to them. Have you served?
No, definitely not.
You agree? We don't have to write.
We don't have to remind them now.
But they ran out of time. They were in contempt of court. And so what happened? The case ended today.
Is it there?
Because the first of all, Museveni had withdrawn.
Through his statements.
And we are only doing prayers. So for us, the prayers stay, but they have to answer them afresh. They have to ask for court. They have to ask court for leave to file their process in out of time.
With justifiable reason.
But as far as the petition is concerned, because they didn't answer it, the court has no alternative to say the petitioners win. That is automatic. I used to be a judge. I know what happens. It's not as if I am speculating. There is no way the court can bring another situation other than
the previous.
The petitioners have won. So having done that, we are asking for punitive damages. We are asking for punitive damages from the court, in addition to exemplary, our praying for cause. And we hope the court will be generous and give us a very fat and because exemplary means you must show that these petitioners
next
that
time
you can't just ignore the court of Uganda.
Okay.
So this win is called legal technical knockout. Knockout in boxing, when it's an 11 round, and you knock your opponent senseless
down and
he falls down,
and
then
with no energy to stand.
The referee says your opponent has won. You don't go any further.
That
is technical knockout.
We are with Justice Kanyeihamba. He never ceases to amaze us. Definitely also educating the public and the entire world at large. We want to run into what has been bothering him, bothering me, and bothering you. That is having 4-star general, as far as Ugandan ranks are concerned, moves around the country to onlookers. I mean, he seems to have presidential ambitions. And of late, he tweeted, and as you called me off record, you had read in the East African newspaper where he said that the only thing he can do to his great mother is being president of the Republic of Uganda. Let us speak it from there. What are your words towards a person who qualifies to be your son?
I love discussing these kind of contradictions. And we have contradictions between President Museveni and his son, now General
Foster
Muhoozi. It's
like Avenger.
It's like a comedy. Let me tell you, you have to believe between two camps. There are I can't pronounce it.
NRM.
Yes. Fanatics and the youth who are not interested in Muhoozi. They want Museveni to run again.
Yeah, you watched those people, by the way. And unfortunately, the person is mightier person of Ruengo. At a personal level, I had wanted to denounce that district myself, where they said Muzei Tovaku, something, some word.
Even I, because for me, I have been fighting, and Museveni has agreed with me.
Talk
that
about
we
succession.
should discuss his retirement and his succession. As far as person I know, Museveni has never hinted or said anything that I will be succeeded by my son. Never. I am his witness.
What do you interpret of his statement that this is my Muhoozi, my avenger? What do you think? Using now we want to depend on your wisdom and your age and experience.
Son,
when someone says this
my
is my avenger,
son is a computer specialist. But if I die, he will be my avenger. Doesn't mean that he's a president. That is simple.
So in your view,
avengers don't have to be presidents.
Okay. Let's
So
proceed.
that's number one. Number two, I founded with you Kanyeihamba Foundation. Our aim is to encourage the youth to fight for the rights of the people and theirs, to be educated, and to be articulate like you are. But the majority of them has let me down. One of the leaders was called Solomon. I have already mentioned.
You already mentioned him in the petition.
And I gave him 23 million to reproduce Kanyeihamba Foundation handbook. He swallowed that. One of the younger people who is a lawyer agreed that he will be the lawyer of Kanyeihamba, Senyonga. He swallowed 1.5 million of mine, and he doesn't
Their
answer me
throats
anymore.
must be so wide. I mean, you open and
So
you
what I
swallow.
have discovered,
Young
this
people-
country, the majority of people you would want to trust have been corrupted beyond comprehension. That's the point I'm trying to make. Therefore, let me talk about
the sun
the project,
the Muhoozi project,
which is not there in my opinion. There is no project. Because if you wanted, the youth saying we want you, and you don't say, no, I am retiring as Kanyeihamba says, you keep quiet. It means you agree with those who want you to stand in the 2026. And there are many. And they don't believe in people like Kanyeihamba.
The sycophants you said, you mentioned?
Well, that's your word.
You said that they are in NRM, there are sycophants.
I never used that word. I said that's your word.
Anyhow,
and if you look
there is a group of people that
I
want him to stay, and we were giving an example of my chairperson in Irwengo.
That's right.
And then you
and when I said, sir, you said these are psychopaths.
Then you brought
the words came from your mouth.
an idea.
But I agree with you.
Okay, you brought an idea of the corrupt and
yeah,
course,
they are corrupt. Yes, that's true.
And young people.
Those are my words.
Young people who have lost.
Yes.
I mean, they have lost it. They are corrupt beyond comprehension.
Have lost sense of direction. Totally.
Young people.
Yes. Not all of them.
Some.
Many still are members of Kanyeihamba Foundation. They really respect me for founding it. But others, like those who say they want Museveni to stand again in 2026, what you have said, sycophants, and have lost control of themselves. They are talking like robots.
So what do you make of Muhoozi's statement?
So let me come to that.
And moving around the country.
I don't know whether you saw the social media saying that he had proposed to the Prime Minister of Italy. By the way, I saw her picture. She's very beautiful. And I don't blame
the General for having
Muhoozi for wanting, desired her. But he will mix African custom with modernity. He will pay 100 cows as a dowry. Now, Ugandans and those youths who are supporting this system, is that the Ugandan really want to be president of this country? Museveni doesn't either. Because Museveni recently had to apologize
on his son's
for Muhoozi's action, who had said, I will attack Kenya under the presidential election. I don't know where he was sitting, but there may have been some Mulamba. But Chika called him Mulamba, Enguli, or whiskey in English.
The local...
I'm going to defeat Uganda in Kenya too. Kenya is the most reliable, longest alley of this country. We depend on Kenya for many of our goods from abroad, which land in Mombasa. We are in the same organization of East African community. And the potential president saying, I am going to take Kenya and I will defeat it in 2 weeks. Really, are there many Ugandans who would like that man to be president of Uganda? And then we are at a war with Tanzania, Kenya, Sudan, Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, and the God knows what. I think he might even dare to tackle Nigeria, South Africa. Do we have an army which can defeat all those? But let me tell you, it is the same statement that was made by Louis IV of France, when he wanted to attack all the countries of Europe, England, Switzerland, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, and his general said, but sire, can France afford to attack those countries and we survive? And the king looked at him very angrily, as Museveni looked at his son very angrily. Because the king said, you stupid general, I am France. Mark those words. People who said, this is my army, instead of Uganda army. Even instead of saying, my father's, because at least nationally, President Museveni is the leader of our army. So, you know your father is the commander-in-chief. And you say, my army. Are you saying? Some people have said there may be some people who are trying to trade drugs around General Muhoozi. I hope he's refusing that trade.
Okay. So
having said,
he wants to police the
I don't believe Museveni is intelligent, he's cunning, he's purely, he's political astute. If he is what I am saying, there is no way he can support his son to be president of Uganda. I swear on that one. Secondly, he fears him.
Who fears who?
President Museveni fears his son, that he could take over power. Why? When he was apologizing to Kenya, in the same statement, he promoted Muhoozi to general. How can you criticize somebody's statement whom you are about to promote to be general? It doesn't make sense. So you can only say he fears his son to take over.
So
because his son has said, my army.
So this rank, in your view, it was to corrupt him, for another word, or because he feared the son, and maybe then becomes as a token, okay, I'm awarding you with a general, may you please keep quiet.
I have asked very many political experts, including professional lawyers. They all agree that that was not a promotion which was voluntary, but if it was, then the apology was also not intended. It was false.
If what makes you think that General Muhoozi doesn't qualify to, doesn't have the qualifications to lead this country? The man is moving around the country. He's everywhere.
The first simple one. Our constitution prohibits a president to be married to a foreigner. the first obvious thing that Muhoozi is not qualified is that his social media sometimes tells the truth, he may be telling lies. He has offered to marry the Italian Prime Minister. First of all, it is difficult when you are Prime Minister of Italy to marry a foreigner from Uganda.
With the presidential
So
mission.
that is not possible, in my opinion. But presumably, if the woman agreed to marry General Muhoozi will be prepared to pay 100 cows as his promise. Now, we Ugandans were poor. So a man who is prepared to marry a Mzungu and pay a dowry of 100 cows is not one of us. So we can't vote for him.
So that disqualifies. That's one of, those are two of the reasons for which you think he doesn't qualify. He may not qualify.
No, the obvious one. I have been observing the performance of both since even when I was minister. He hasn't got the same qualities and the caliber as his father. On the contrary, he's a mere shadow of his father's talents.
Are there specifics?
So I want somebody who will replace Museveni to be somebody with talent, charisma. You know, in the election, I voted for Kyagulanyi to be president of Uganda. Not because he's very wonderful and has charisma. He sings well, songs I don't understand. But the only reason I appointed him, once he was president, he would have access to my friend, Ssaabasajja Kabaka of Uganda. He would get advice from there. He would get the advice from people like the Katikkiro of Uganda, who declared recently that Kanyeihamba is Musajja wa Kabaka. Because no president governs alone. I'm writing a book, I'm about to finish it, called President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, I have known, versus Steve Haburwa, I have never known. And I have evidence to show people will read it. So he hasn't got the charisma or the abilities of our president and the former president Obote. He has not the charisma of Obote, but he has gotten tendencies to behave like Amin. We don't want Amin back.
If I may ask, you said you voted Honorable Kyagulanyi.
Yes.
Not because you thought he was that
suitable, but he was but he was humble enough
to get advice.
That's right.
Doesn't this man, in the name of Muhoozi, also in position to get advice from some other
people? If you ask me about President Museveni, I would say I was his senior advisor. Kanyeihamba was his advisor. Today, Joanna Kategaya is his senior advisor. All the permanent secretaries are his advisor. And the late, much lamented Mutebire Tumusime was his advisor on economy. Tell me, who are the advisors of Muhoozi today?
Maybe because
he
hasn't become president yet. Maybe. When
we were in the bush, Museveni was fighting. I was his advisor from London.
Before he
Wakana Uganda was his advisor in Nairobi. Mbabazi was his advisor from there. And the Kabaka was his advisor from London. He was a younger man. You mean today You shock me, really. That Muhoozi has no advisor. He will only get them
when he becomes president.
When he becomes president.
Maybe he has some that tell him to advise, rather to tweet what he does. But to say now, in your view, he doesn't qualify. In your view.
No, he doesn't qualify. And in my view, Museveni is not supporting him to be president.
Okay. We have two key remaining concerns that I want you to tackle. One is, I don't know how precise you are going to be, Prof, in regards to the powers of LOC, because we understand that
I wish Norman we had started that.
No,
that
we don't mind.
So crucial.
We can.
That's we so important.
Yes, let's manage that.
I am waiting for the call of the Minister of Lands, because I had the call, had to send the representatives. They didn't come. I have called many journalists to come to where I was going to demonstrate the powers and the functions of the LC1 chairman in the country. And I hope, please, Norman, for this very, very important constitutional role, you called him to talk about constitutional. That's the most basic and the most important organ, the first unit of government in Uganda. And 90% of disputes and disagreements we put in the constitution should be determined by the LC1, because they are on the site. All the witnesses there will have seen what is happening. And we gave the LC1 judicial powers to determine those matters. Those which are Honorable Nabakuba, to employ me, because I'm still very well and I'm still working, as they can hear. My voice is that of the health man. The only thing I can't use is my legs. But you can see, I can dance, my knees are okay. So it was saying, I'm elderly, 82. But I wanted to nominate Museveni, who is 81,
for president.
They need their heads examined. So having said that, I have talked to the minister. Her deputy, or rather her Minister of State, Chiwanuka, saw me 2 days ago. And we had a chat. And he sent me to the Presidential Corruption Unit, chaired by a general. They interviewed me for 2 hours. I want any of you to ask them how strong I was. For 2 hours. I didn't have lunch.
What took you there?
So, there. I have said the only thing I can do, and why God has kept me here, is to correct what the NRM is doing wrong. Because when we made the constitution, the laws, the NRA, the LOC1 was settling 90% of the disputes arising from their area. 90%. Today, 90% of those disputes and conflicts have been taken by the courts. Everyone who goes to court, I want a court order. Everyone, I want a court order. So now, the LC1 LCs, rather what we call the other Cs, they are only considering, if at all, 10% of those problems where the Constitution gave them 90%. What's wrong with Ugandans? So I was going to demonstrate at a Dewe village in Busiro County towards Lutembe Beach. The powers of the LC. I was going to act as LC chairman. And the LC of Dewe were all said we should have come. I invited everywhere. The only LC which was represented was Kabale municipality. An LC man came from there. Only. The police threatened everybody. Don't go there to listen to Kanyeihamba's demonstration. I went with the journalist. He's taking photographs. Those photographs we have sent them to the Minister of Lands, Navakoba, to see how I was threatened with guns by people sent there by the police. The DPC of what is the period?
There is Entebbe and Kajansi.
Kajansi is.
You had mentioned off record. You had mentioned.
Is the name?
Is he the same person? Komakech.
Komakech. Komakech.
What's wrong with Komakech?
Komakech, I will never forget that name. I think he comes from somewhere good. And he promised me, I am going to send policemen to guide you when you demonstrate to the country the powers of the LC.
Maybe 1 second, Prof. Yeah, my producer is telling me that we are short of time, but you must finish this.
Yes.
This is the question. What brings you to that level? I think you need to tell the public what transpired. Why did you want to demonstrate? And why did you bring the person of Komakech, whom you'll never forget his name?
Komakech.
Yes, so that the public gets to know. Because you see, by your narrative, we haven't touched that. I mean, we have not gone there. What makes you...
What I wanted to demonstrate is that most of the decisions which are going to courts handled by lawyers can be handled without money or fees at local level. That's the whole point I want to mention. That's why the Minister supported it. That's why the Minister of State, Chuanuka, even accompanied me to go to the anti-corruption. That's why. And if we have run out of time, I beg you, the next time,
we begin straight away.
Let's start with this one, so that our country are not cheated. When I called lawyers, he said, I'll take it to the court. You're giving me 1 million. Another one said, I will take it to the court. And I called 10. I'll take it to the court. And you will pay me 5 million. Another one, I'll take it for 3 million. It's like bargaining in a market of thieves.
Okay, now what we're going to do, our viewers, we must say, we're going to begin, I think, to me, with what we have heard even off record. It is land conflict and corruption, definitely in Uganda, and definitely with the police corruption, as you said, and we ask you that you will come and tell the public why you will not forget Komakech. But some comment.
Komakech, good morning.
Okay.
What I haven't told you,
yes.
He said, can I come to your house? And he mentioned payment of $500 million shillings.
$500 million?
If I forget the case. $500 million.
That's 500 million.
Yes. And he said, if you forget this and it's not in newspapers, I will bring another $500 million. I said, Komakech, where does a DPC get that kind of money? He smiled, very confident. He said, we have a police fund.
Okay.
So please, you wait.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Then Mchiga, who is corrupted in these areas, called me and said, Kanyeihamba, they are going to kill you.
Definitely they want for, with God.
So if the Mchiga man, who called me AM, early in the morning, If it is not right that they are going to kill me, I will be alive.
Okay. There is this, that it's a comment, and the viewer might get annoyed if you don't respond to that precisely. Is Bijirwa Moses. He hails from Wunjiri. He says, thanks for the program. Kindly ask Professor Kanyeihamba to predict.
If what?
That kindly, I should ask Professor Kanyeihamba to predict about Mr. Museveni's ending as president of this country. Precisely.
I can't predict because I am not a god, even if I am quite intelligent. But what I wish is that he will accept my advice to retire now, and we discuss his succession peacefully, so that we have a lot of time between now and when he retires. I don't want him to retire in 2026. That's too far. I want him to retire now, so we can discuss as he has done. He discussed his retirement and succession. He didn't name his son, but he named his son was the president because he's a general. And Nobert Mao was there. The man I have said is a chairman because he joined the movement. So my wish, not my prediction, my wish is we should discuss his retirement now,
not 2026,
and the succession to him now, not later.
Say goodbye to your viewers and we'll leave
goodbye, viewers. As you can hear, the doctors are keeping me going and fine. I was 83 the other day. Norman was a part of the people who gave me a party, and I don't know whether they were making a joke. They said 83, then in bracket 38.
Yes.
Because they know, and I agree with them, I speak and work and react like a 38-year-old man.
I can't add a word. See you then.
Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.